Hey guys, I'm Giovanni Herbert. Welcome to SnapComms, where we bring you news in a snap. With us today is the Acting Permanent Secretary in the Deputy Governor's Office, Ms. Carolyn Stoutt Igwe, and she'll be talking to us on good governance as it relates to the transformation of the public sector. Good day, Mrs. Igwe.
Thank you for having me.
It's all pleasure, actually. There's a campaign currently going on in the transformation of the public service sector on the components of good governance. In the framework of good governance, could you define and share some of those components of good governance in the transformation of the public service sector?
Okay. Good governance exactly is a term that we hear all the time, actually. But it really means how public institutions manage the affairs and basically use the resources. So when you hear the term good governance, you'll hear terms like accountability, transparency, effectiveness, efficiency, public participation. Those are all some of the characteristics of good governance. So it's basically involve all the policies and procedures, systems in place that governments would put in place to ensure good governance.
Okay, so utilizing that picture that you've just given us of good governance in its framework, what areas of the framework are currently the focus of our government, and those areas, when can we expect to see these things in play?
Okay, all right. So if I can just start by saying that there is currently a good governance framework for overseas territories that we are using as part of the public service transformation. It has about 16 components, but the ones that we are focusing right now are ministerial code. Then there's the Integrity Commission, and there's a Public Service Management Bill. Now, some of the areas under the framework that we're using for overseas territories include like whistleblower legislation, which I'm sure you've probably heard about in recent times, grievance mechanisms. Those aspects are covered in our Public Service Management Bill. So there are about 16 components on the framework that we're using for good governance, and there are about 4 or 5 of them that are covered in the Public Service Management Bill. So the Public Service Management Bill, for the first time, we will have a bill that clearly defines the role of the public service, outlining, showcasing a deputy governor as the head of the public service, because usually we'll hear that all the time, but there's nothing that sets out his duties comprehensively. The Constitution just mentions basic. In that bill, we have covered the role of permanent secretaries, what is expected of them, the relationship between ministers and public officers. The Integrity Commission is another one that we're working on right now. Basically, we currently have a Register of Interest Act that governs declarations by all politicians, members of the House of Assembly, I should say. But the Integrity Commission, basically the Register of Interest, there's supposed to be a governing body, which is right now a member of a committee that is from the House of Assembly. But we are hoping that we would move towards having an Integrity Commission that will not only have oversight for the declarations, but as well as other aspects of other accountability aspects. Then the ministerial code, ministers of government need to adhere to certain standards. So that's what the ministerial code is all about. Standards by which they would be governed, and it outlines, right now we are in the draft stages. Actually, papers have been prepared for cabinet for all of these areas. We were given a mandate by cabinet to deliver certain things by the first quarter, and a lot of research was done during the first quarter. But it's a matter of making sure that you do not only research, but you have start the stakeholder consultation to make sure that we have it right. So within the next couple of weeks, the papers will be presented to cabinet, and after that, then we will start doing some stakeholder consultations so that everybody's aware of what we're trying to do.
Okay, so that's a lot that's happening right now as far as painting this picture, presenting this good governance, almost like an act. But to narrow it down on the key areas, because I don't want that some of what you just mentioned be missed.
Right.
Currently, what are the key focus areas,
Right.
And why? Why now those particular areas? And as far as seeing them in action, those that will be immediately, you currently have in play to be for immediate release to the public.
Right. Earlier in the year, when the governor would have delivered a speech from the throne, some of these were mentioned. For example, he mentioned the ministerial code. So that is one of the reasons why we are working towards that, because the speech from the throne is delivered, and it is expected that during that year, that whatever the government promised to deliver on, that public officers will do their role, perform their roles in ensuring that these promises, as it were, are delivered. So that is the reason why. So that helped with the prioritization of the areas. For the good governance, like I said, there's 16 components, but there's only so much you can do in 1 year. So based on Cabinet's mandate for the year, that's the reason why we're focusing on the 3, the Public Service Management Bill, the Integrity Commission, and the Ministerial Code.
Mrs. Igwe, is there anything else that, you would like to share with us on good governance that we may have missed before you leave?
Well, just to say that on a daily basis in everything that we do as public officers, good governance should be at the forefront. We should be mindful of how we interact with people, making sure that we follow rules and regulations. We should try to ensure that there's equity in everything that we do, to make sure that fairness can be seen, to make sure that everybody feels that they have the ability to participate in the decision-making process. So I believe that once we get through this year with at least these 3 major aspects, while everything might not be implemented by the end of the year, they will be at an advanced stage by the end of this year, because especially for the bill that has to go to the House, there's a process. But it is important that people understand that progress is being made. Sometimes the buzzword is out there. We're approaching an election year, so again, that's sort of reason to why we need to make sure that certain things are in place. And you've already heard certain things being said about there's a need for people always, even recently in the news, Freedom of Information Act. We keep hearing about that. That is actually one of the good governance components. But before you even have a Freedom of Information Act, you need to have a Data Protection Act. And I can say that the Data Protection Act has already been drafted. So throughout the ministries and government, there are a number of measures being taken to ensure good governance. Some are taking a bit longer than others, but the work continues.
The work continues.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for spending the time with us here on SnapComms. And I hope that we can get some updates when these things come to completion.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, you will.
All right. Thank you.
So within about 2 months, we'll be back to give you a progress report.
All right. Thank you. That's it for today, guys. I'm Giovanni Herbert signing off. Be sure to tune in for your daily feed of SnapComms, where we bring you news in a snap.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Twitter, and Facebook at BVI Government and Instagram at GIS-BVI.
SnapComms is brought to you by the Disaster Recovery Coordinating Committee, Government of the Virgin Islands.